Yes, this is your favorite show, Sports Unfolded, with your favorite hosts, Eric and Ron.
Hey, welcome to Sports Unfolded, episode 18 of season 2, Natural Disasters. And I'll let Ron explain that one to you afterwards. I'm your host, Eric, main man right over there.
Howdy, everybody.
Ron. I am so excited about tonight because we have so much to unfold. We're going to probably be on for a good 2 hours today because there's just a ton to go over. NHL playoffs, NBA playoffs, NFL news, Major League Baseball news. So we've got a lot to cover. So we're going to just start off with our leadoff story, and that's going to be Deandre Hopkins. So Deandre Hopkins has been suspended for 6 games by the NFL for some PED positive tests. How do you think overall this is going to affect the Arizona Cardinals?
Well, I mean, you're not going to have one of the best receivers in the game for 6 weeks. That's a big deal. You know, and especially considering they've already lost Kirk, and I know they're already, in process of getting, players in, between the draft and, free agency. But, that's a big loss, and you saw what it did to them down the stretch last season when he was injured. Yeah. So, he missed 6 games last season, more towards the end of the year. And like you said, they fluttered at the end of the season, struggling to get into the playoffs and then losing in the playoffs. He only had 42 receptions, 572 yards, and 8 touchdowns last season. Yeah, it's not good enough. So that wasn't very good. But they did trade for Marquis Brown. So in 16 games with Baltimore, 91 receptions, 1,008 yards, 6 touchdowns. So if you think about him replacing Hopkins for the time being, not a bad, switch. I mean, Hopkins still probably one of the top receivers in the league, but at least it's not a big downgrade. AJ Green did re-sign, and he, again, 54 receptions for 848 yards last year and 3 touchdowns. He has to be better in these first 6 games. He does. And I think the fact that James Conner, rushed for 752 yards, 15 touchdowns, and what he did receiving as well, that's key. I'm more concerned overall, Ron, not with Hopkins missing 6 games. How does this affect Kyler Murray and his situation with his contract? And does he want to now re-sign knowing that, look, D-Hop may be out for some time, but this seems to be consistent with Hopkins as well? Yeah, no, this could change a lot of things for Arizona's fortunes. Look, I mean, when you're having problems with PEDs and injuries, it's kind of curious as to, what is going to be going on in Arizona this season. And, is it going to cause Murray, hesitation to re-sign there, thinking, okay, well, he might not have a number 1 guy. Consistently, yeah. I know him and Brown played in college. They're reunited. I'm sure that makes him a little happier. Maybe gets him to want to stay. But this is, to me, a make or break year for Arizona as well. And this doesn't help them because we talked about it last year when they picked up J.J. Watt and they got that whole team together. And now they've lost Chandler Jones. So we thought last year was the year for them. Yeah. And now, you lose some key players to free agency. You lose Hopkins now for 6 weeks. Kyler Murray just hasn't made a decision as to what he wants to do with his future. To me, it's a make or break year for Arizona. Like, as much as we thought Arizona might be the team of the future for a few years, it's starting to feel like they're the same old Arizona Cardinals that are just going to flutter at some point. And they had a glorious year, that 1 year, and they got to the Super Bowl back in the day with Fitzgerald and lost to the Steelers. Like that's where they were. Well, that's the big concern here, is what we're really talking about. Is this window already closed?
which is insane to think about, right?
Yeah, because like you go into last season with all the promise and a roster that looks to be tailor made to win a Super Bowl, and they were definitely contenders for that, you know. And then the wheels kind of fell off the bus, you know, and with injuries to Murray, injuries to Hopkins, and several other players.
I think
Watt,
Connor went down as well.
right?
So
So you're looking at a lot of those injuries, and now you come in to the off season. Okay, let's expand on this team, and then all they did was just lose players, lose, 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 lose. That's all they've done since the halfway mark of the regular season last season to now. They've only lost, and I don't know if the team is going to be even a contender, for a Super Bowl this year. I don't think they're going to be. And, you know, they're going to be hard pressed to even make the playoffs
and again,
because,
they're in the same division as the defending champions.
right.
Yeah,
And you still have
that's
San
difficult to look.
Francisco, that defense is still going to be intact, so they're going to be at least, a good team, but then you have other teams that, that have made some changes, and they're looking to turn the corner, like Philadelphia, they made the playoffs last year and they got a lot better. To me, they look better than Arizona right now. Dallas should be better than Arizona. So you're looking at, the Rams, Tampa Bay,
Green Bay, we still
Green
got
Bay,
Green Bay in the mix.
like there's already 5 teams right there that I think are going to be better than Arizona. So that leaves you,
a few spots, yeah.
you might be looking, into the playoffs, but you might not make it.
So let me ask you this one question and we'll move on. Kyler Murray situation. Arizona doesn't have a good season this year. Do we see the end of Kyler Murray? Does he move on from Arizona? In your opinion?
I can see it. I don't know if he'll do it because, because that's awful risky, not re-signing during, the season. But he might just take a free agent shot. And if you're going to be a free agent, with the talent of Kyler Murray, you're going to have at least 4 or 5 teams inquiring, and we know those 4 or 5 teams. It's going to be Detroit, Carolina, New Orleans. There'll probably be a New York team interested. Because we're going to find out, by the end of next year, who is going to need a quarterback, and we believe it's probably still the same list of teams that need one right now.
Yeah, heavy quarterback draft coming out, but we've also realized that look, just because you sign a contract long term with a team, and we've seen some movement this offseason,
right,
doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be with that team going forward. So,
correct.
It's going to be very interesting to see how this piece of the puzzle fits with Arizona going forward. But we're going to continue on the NFL. And the NFL has released its overseas schedule. The schedule is going to be released, a full schedule, on May 12th. So we'll look forward to seeing that. And then we'll talk about some of those key games as we did before in the past. But let's talk about these few games that they have. 5 games on the docket that have been scheduled. First one being the New Orleans Saints versus Minnesota in London. That's on October 2nd, week 4.
Gotta love that quarterback play in that game, right?
Right, like this is what I'm saying. As I started to read these games, put them down, I'm going, they really didn't put two top teams together. I don't know if they did that for a reason. If it
Well,
was some
well,
kind of
yeah, of
strategy with the
course.
NFL.
Because when you think about it, what you're going to put Green Bay and Kansas City out there? No, because you want that ticket window to be at home. You
So,
don't want that. You don't want that to be out there because we know the game is going to sell out. No matter who you put out there. So let's put the crap teams out there. So they struggle with the travel. And it's not going to be. It's not. Nobody's going to care inside the NFL. Who cares?
So what about this matchup? Week 5 October 9th, Green Bay versus the New York Giants.
Yeah. That will be the week that Aaron Rodgers needs to sit down for a little while, and take the day off.
Yeah, we see Jordan Love.
Yeah.
So then it gets even. So then you get the Jacksonville Jaguars versus the Denver Broncos. That's week 8. So October 30th.
Well, there we go.
Huh? Are you excited? I'm excited.
And where's that one?
That one's in London as well. I think there's 2 at Wembley and then one other stadium. I don't know which games are where.
Well, they got Denver, in Jacksonville.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So then week 10 in Germany, first time in Germany for the NFL. Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus the Seattle Seahawks.
Oh, see, so they got some good franchises out there. Look, Seattle and Russell.
Drew Lock versus
no Russell.
Drew Lock versus Tom Brady.
Yeah,
is what we're looking at. Possibly Baker Mayfield.
Wait, does Giselle have like some big show in Germany that week?
Maybe they worked it in so Tom could attend.
Maybe.
Right?
That could be it.
The only matchup here that I'm really interested in seeing, and again, this is all up in the air anyway, week 11, November 21st, the Arizona Cardinals are facing the San Francisco 49ers in Mexico.
But yeah, that's the thing. That's in Mexico.
Close enough
so that's not really overseas. That is, just south of the border.
Yeah, and you think about it. So Arizona and San Fran are both in that area, so the teams are going to travel well. You're going to have a lot of fans go to that one.
Yeah, it's literally going to be like an hour flight to go there.
So I don't know if, again, it was all planned by the NFL, if that's kind of what the mentality was, is to try to make it. It didn't blow me away. I mean, especially if you're going to have your first game in Germany and make this big thing about it, I would have had 2 probably powerhouse teams, at least to really hype
you
it up.
have 2 known teams.
Yeah. And again, you think about the timing. I still don't like the 9 o'clock.
Look, they're just going to be happy that they're going to see Tom Brady play the first quarter.
If Tom's even playing, maybe he gets hurt. Maybe this is the year. Maybe this is what happens. He's talking a lot, which we'll discuss later on.
Yeah, his mouth is runneth over.
Yeah. So let's bring up the gentleman on the screen. We're going to talk about Kyle Van Noy, who has signed with the Los Angeles Chargers. How big of a loss do you feel this is going to be for New England?
Well, considering they have no linebackers, they don't have they retained anybody?
So I had to do some digging, Ron. And as I did my digging, 31. So Kyle Van Noy, 31 years old. Last season, 16 games, 66 combined tackles, 5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, and an interception.
That's pretty good considering
Decent
the
numbers.
limited time playing.
Decent numbers, yeah. What I will say is this. There is going to be an extreme youth movement in New England. And people seem to forget that they have guys that have been on the bench or that they've traded for that have been hurt. And the expectation is, barring injury, they're going to get very young very fast. So we talked about Hightower and his age. We talked about Van Noy and his age and how they looked slow last season and they wanted to get younger. They didn't go out and make a big free agent splash. They didn't go out and draft somebody because they feel like they've got guys on the roster. Raquan McMillan is 25 years old. They had picked him up, again, injured. Anthony Jennings, 24, injured. Ronnie Perkins, 22, last year's draft pick, injured. Cameron McGrown, I've heard a lot of good things about what he was doing in training camp. Again, injured, last year's draft pick. He's 21.
Why does he sound like a cartoon character?
But so what they're trying to do is keep what they already have in play in the organization and hope that these guys actually are able to step up and make a difference this season.
Oh, so we're going through the season on a hope and a prayer, is what you're saying?
I would say that again, these guys have been consistently injured, which scares me. That's the part
at
of
least
it
they're
that scares me.
consistent.
They're consistently injured, yes. But I mean, I can see in the past they've done this. The question is it going to work? Usually they bring in a veteran guy to just kind of, and I would have thought out of the guys that were still available, Van Noy to me would have been a good signing for them to keep around with these guys, just in case. That's the part of it that I think's the loss, because he's 31. Yes, he's up there in age. He's not going to put up, 100 tackles and double-digit sacks.
So I said this during the draft show that we had. Look, Belichick is just going to try to capitalize on the people that get cut.
I think he's going to look at that. Yes.
I think he's just going to try to take people off the scrap heap, sign them to a cheap contract, and hope that it pans out. And hope that you can get a quality player from there.
And I know we have some differences in the draft, and I know how you feel and how I feel. Well, I would say is this. I think they're really starting to look at, if we're going to draft these kids, we've got to get them on the field to at least know what we have, versus just continuing to draft guys. And then what do you do with these guys that you drafted last year? You need to see what they're made of. And I think that's what everybody's forgetting. So last year's draft actually is part of this year's draft, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because there's guys out there that we haven't even seen yet. They haven't hit the field.
Yeah, and
it wasn't because
volumes of right there, though. I mean, you have too many guys that are always injured, and it is now suffering because of the lack of playing. And so again, we're turning back the clock on some of these players that may or may not even contribute at all. And we're going to have players that are basically taking up the roster spots, and we're going to find that they're kind of useless at this point.
Maybe. I got to believe, man. I got to believe. I'm trying. I'm still trying to. I'm trying to not lose that in Bill we trust. Sometimes it's fading, but
I'm not there. I'm not there.
Let's go and talk about triple play, my friend. And this one's pretty fun because what we decided to do was we're taking the top 3 scorers that are currently still in the playoffs. So Jokic was one of the top 3, but he's no longer in the playoffs, so we didn't include him. The top 3 players currently are Luka Doncic, Jason Tatum, and Giannis Antetokounmpo. And we're going to decide who we start, bench, and cut. I am first this week. I am excited because I know we're not going to agree on this at all. I am 100% sure we're not going to.
I think we're going to 100% agree.
All right, let's see. And if anybody's out there watching live, let us know how you would do this. So Giannis Antetokounmpo is my starter. 26.1 points per game, 11.7 rebounds, 5.2 assists in the playoffs in his career. So how I looked at this was their entire playoff career. He's been to the NBA Finals and won it. I want a guy that I know can get through 16 games, win it all. I want my champion, which means I'm benching Jason Tatum. 22.3 points per game, 6.6 rebounds, and 3.9 assists, which actually should go way up after how he's playing now. That number will go up. But he's been to a couple conference finals, so we know he can get there. He just hasn't gotten over the final hurdle. But he's playoff tested, able to perform, and has proven it, which means I'm cutting Luka Doncic. As crazy as it sounds, averaging more points than anybody in the playoffs of these two, 33.5 points per game, 8.7 rebounds, 9.1 assists. You're going, Eric, what are you doing? You're crazy. This is the first time in 3 years that he's gotten out of the first round. And they're down 0-2 now. Not looking very good for them to get out of this round. So, to me, Luka hasn't done enough to take a team on his back and be able to catapult them any further than a first or second round. I don't want that guy. I cut him.
Okay, so first off, I'm going to start the guy that wins championships. And there's only
We
one
know how big
guy.
you are with championships.
There's only one guy in this group of players that has done that, and that is Giannis. He is my starter. It doesn't even matter the points at this point because the guy gets it done. So the points don't matter. You know, it's the guy brings you to the championship, wins the championship, gives you MVPs. You can't ask for more of one player.
Agreed.
So that brings me to the bench. Now, I want a guy that is going to be able to get it done if I lose Giannis. Okay? And as far as I'm concerned, Dallas isn't going to get it done. They're going to be probably swept. Maybe take a game. So I'm not going to have a guy that constantly gets eliminated from the playoffs, first round or second round, and that's it. And he can't get it done in the playoffs. Now, I'm not blaming Luka.
No.
I'm not blaming Luka at all.
And we'll discuss it because we're going to break down that series. But
this is clearly Dallas's problem. It's like when he's in the game, they just don't. They go on cruise control. The rest of the team, that is, and for whatever reason, they just don't play well as a team when he's in.
Yeah,
which
they
is
played better when
ludicrous.
He was out. When he was out, they played better. Yeah,
right. So to me, this is all on Brunson. To be honest with you,
Agreed.
It's all on him. So I am benching Tatum because of that fact. Because what Tatum has showed me this year, he is ready to take the next step. He has come up with clutch shots in the fourth quarter in these playoffs. And that was my biggest knock on Jason Tatum throughout his career so far, is that he can't get it done in the fourth quarter. Well, guess what he proved?
He can.
He can do that. So I want Tatum on my bench.
Wow.
And
so
I
agree. I'm shocked. I did not.
I knew you were going to be shocked.
I know how big of a fan you are of Luka, and I
am
that you were going to put Luka.
Like, I would love to have him in Boston. Holy crap, that would be awesome.
Oof. So let's continue talking some NBA basketball. We're going to bring up this interesting series. This is probably going to be one of the best series in this round, and that's the Boston Celtics and the Milwaukee Bucks.
The championship comes from this series.
The series is tied 1-1. Game 3 tomorrow at, I think, 3:30. Boston currently 99 points per game. Milwaukee 93.5 points per game. Slight edge to Milwaukee in rebounds, 44-45. Assists, Boston's 5 ahead with 24-19. Boston shooting 40% in this series. Milwaukee 43%. This is what's starting to scare me, and this is we're gonna discuss. Boston currently 40.9% from 3-point land. Milwaukee 28.8%. How long can Boston continue to shoot the ball at 40% from 3? It's starting to that's freaking me out.
You gotta hope that they can do it for 3 more games.
That's a lot to ask. That's a very high percentage.
I know it is.
The way Milwaukee's playing them defensively, they're forcing them to shoot threes.
Yes.
The difference right now is they're making them.
Right.
Game one, they didn't make as many.
That's right.
This is where I'm saying it depends on Boston. So Jason Tatum having a series, 25 points, 4.5 rebounds, 7 assists, shooting 47.4% from 3-point range in the 2 games so far. Jaylen Brown, 47.4% from 3-point range so far. Their best 3-point shooter. So Tatum, Brown, double team, kicking it out to who? Grant Williams, who's shooting 61.5% from 3-point range.
Insane.
You're asking a lot. And Al Horford chipping in with a double-double. So you think defensively what he's able to do with Giannis, and he's still getting you 10 boards, 11 points a game. You can't go wrong. On the other side, Giannis, 26, 11, and 9.5. He's almost averaging a triple-double.
Yeah.
Drew Holiday has to score more. He's scoring 22 points. We said the loss of Middleton. He's shooting 37.5 from the field.
Yep.
He's got it. That if
Yeah, that has
Milwaukee's
to
gonna
get
win this
better,
series,
or
it
they're
has
not
to
going to
get
win.
better. And then Bobby Portis, who's probably their 3 guy now with Middleton being out, 14 points, 9.5 boards, but 22.2% from 3-point range. Boston's going to force him to shoot more threes, which is going to be important because if he's only going to hit 22%, Boston wins this series.
Right.
What are you looking for from this next couple games in this series that's going to change the tide? Either way.
Look, they have to be able to score more points in the paint. They have to be able to do that.
Which is going to be tough.
It is going to be tough.
Milwaukee has more size.
Yes. So, so we need players like Robert Williams, Al Horford to really step up, and Daniel Tice, to step up in the paint. They have to pull down at least a few more boards. They have to be able to get in there, box somebody out, and try to get those big guys maybe in foul trouble. And because if they get into foul trouble, then you can get into that paint more often, and that is probably the biggest key to because they're not going to be able to keep that up. That 3-point shooting.
Yeah, 40% from 3 is not gonna. It's not. If it does continue, I mean, they win the next 3.
Yeah,
easy.
Yeah.
But I can't see that happening. And then you're also asking them to do something that's almost impossible, and that's stop Giannis.
Yeah, and they, I've seen the Celtics, in that second half of game 2, they kind of let off the gas.
They allowed him to get back to it. Yes.
Yeah, and that was kind of startling because, it's you stopped moving, you stopped passing the ball, and you've got to get those quick passes, boom, 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 and then take the open shot, and that's what they need to do.
And you know what else happened in that game, Ron? And this is where I say I'm starting to freak out a little bit. It would be that they shot so well in the first half,
right,
from 3, and didn't shoot as well in the second half from 3.
Right.
And when that happened, Milwaukee got back into the game.
Yeah.
Granted, it was never really a true threat. It was never single digits. Boston kind of had enough momentum going into that second half where they could hold it off. But if you start off a game poorly, especially now 2 in Milwaukee, now all of a sudden does that change? And I think it's time for the NBA to realize the best player in the league is Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Yes.
No longer LeBron James. If there's a guy that can take over a game, I know how you love LeBron.
Look, I think he took over the league last year. So I think he's been the best player since last season. And look, and I keep saying Giannis is a man out there playing, because he is basically in charge. He is the man in charge on the court whenever he's out there. Even if they lose this series, it is just a different player. You know what I'm saying? He's not, shy of taking control of what is going on in the game. And, even when they started, losing ground, late in that game after they caught up a little, and, he always dictated what was happening. Whether he misses the shot or not, and he had a problem with free throws, and that was a big problem too for them. He takes ownership of whatever's happening out there when he's out there, and that's a man playing a kid's game.
Yeah, no, look, I've never seen an individual, if he's that determined to get to a basket, just will his way there. There's nobody that can stop him. He may not make
Yeah.
it every time, but guess what? He's 90% of the time he's getting to the rim. You're not stopping him.
Now,
And it's
I'm
two
not.
steps.
Look, I am not going to throw the comparison out there, but there was another gentleman that willed his way to whatever he wanted to go in the sport, and that was Michael Jordan. Now, I'm not saying Giannis is Michael Jordan. I'm not saying that. But that persona that he's got, it's only been in a few players in the history of the game. And when you look at it, you look at Michael, you look at Magic, those are the guys that, it's just jump on my shoulders. I'm going to take you there.
I would almost too. Another comparison that I would probably say Shaq.
Yes.
Where you're just
yes.
talking a physical dominance over an individual. Like there was very few players that could stop Shaq if he was determined to get to the hole and slam it.
Right.
And you see the same thing from Giannis. So I'm going to ask you this question before we move on. Do you still have the Boston Celtics winning this series?
Yes.
Okay. Even with that 40%,
Yes.
you think they can
Yes.
continue to be able to do it? Okay. All right. So let's talk about some of these other playoff series in the NBA. And the first one we're going to discuss is the Miami Heat versus the Philadelphia 76ers. Miami is
Series over. Series
2-0.
over.
Joel Embiid returns tonight. Looks like most likely. Does that not change some of the fortunes for the Philadelphia 76ers?
No, because now we know that he is the entire team. And they are just going to play him. They're going to double him up, and they don't really care about anybody else on the floor.
So Tyrese Maxey scoring 26 and a half points per game. And the kid is playing very well for Philadelphia. But he's a minus 17 and a half right now when he's on the court.
Yep.
Tobias Harris, 24 points per game, a minus 18. The guy that needs to step up, and I just don't think he can anymore, is James Harden.
Nope.
James Harden is shooting 25% from three.
Who
and
was the
39.
player that refused to sit next to him?
Maxey.
That speaks volumes, doesn't it? Doesn't it?
Yeah. Listen, James Harden, if James Harden is a smart individual, he's going to sign his player option because it's $47.5 million. Because he's thinking if he goes free agency, he could get a super max deal. Nobody's signing you for that money. Not after the way you're performing. Take your $47.5 million, Philly. It's your fault for trading for him, and you eat that money. But he has just not performed well.
Philly had a chance to bolster their team with the proper players and not give up so much just to get Harden. Because, look, you gave up Curry. You need Curry in this series right now. But he's not there. And that's your own fault. So, you had a chance to trade, Ben Simmons for a player that you could use. And that would not stink up the joint like Harden has. Like anything, a role player, a defensive player. Because you had Curry who could shoot. That could have been the guy that you kick it out to and he lights it up, from threes, coming off the bench.
So on the other side, Bam Adebayo, 20.5 points per game, 10.5 boards. Tyler Hero is shooting 63.6% from three-point range.
Yeah.
And when they made that signing, we were kind of questioning. Pat Riley knew what he was doing. That kid is just a sharpshooter. He's lethal. He's lethal from the three-point line.
Yeah.
Jimmy Butler, very quietly, 18.5, 7.5 boards, 7.5 rebounds.
He's such a good player.
Right?
And it's like, he's and we poked fun, during the NBA playoff preview. We poked fun at him, because nobody cares about Butler, and that may be true, but you know what? The guy comes to play in clutch moments, and there aren't too many players in the league that I would take over him because of that. So yes, he's not, the glamour player that, is the sexy signing, that you're going to like ride this guy for, because he's going to be like an MVP player. But what he does do is bring so many intangibles and consistent scoring.
Yeah. And then sneaky side, and I'm glad to see it. Victor Oladipo, who's been battling injuries for the last 2 years.
Yeah.
He's averaging 12 points in the series. Look, this guy was a 25 plus a night scorer when he was with Indiana, and then the knee injury, and he just hasn't been able to stay healthy and he's young, So so my question to you is Miami the best team in the East now? Are we seeing the best team? So you still think Milwaukee, Boston, when it comes out of that series?
Yep.
All right, let's move over to the West.
Because they have dominant players.
Yep. Let's move over to the West. And the Suns and the Mavericks. Suns are up 2-0 in the series, basically beating them in every statistical category from points, rebounds, and assists. Devin Booker shooting 46% from three, averaging 26.5 points per game. Chris Paul, who turned 37 today, is 23.5 points per game, 62.1% from the field.
Yeah.
And Deandre Ayton just chipping in 17 points per game. Yeah,
that's
nothing
all.
crazy. Everybody's double digits pretty much on that team, doing so much. Luka, on the other hand, 40 points per game, 8.5 assists, 7.5 rebound assists, 8.5 rebounds. You said it. You nailed it. Jalen Brunson, when Luka was out, turned it up a notch. And for some reason, he turned it way down. He's averaging 11 points per game.
It's unacceptable.
Right? 32% from the field. And then Spencer Dinwiddie, who has the capabilities of scoring 20-plus points a game, 9.5 this series, 33% from the field. Luka needs help.
Yeah, no,
I don't expect him to win.
And this is
series.
the team. This is not Luka's fault.
Yeah.
Look, the guy is scoring 40 points, and you still can't get a win. Like, this is unacceptable. And it is those players that you just mentioned. It is their fault. Their fault. This is on them. This just shows that, we're going to let Luka do it. No. One player cannot do it all. You have to have contributions from everybody. This is why the Celtics, took it to Brooklyn, because they didn't just have one guy. It wasn't just Tatum. This was Brown. It was Smart. It was everybody contributing. Horford. Everybody contributed to that series win, and now they're going up against Giannis, and we're going to be talking about how Giannis is like putting them on his shoulders right now. And Giannis can't get it done alone. The other guys have to step up because they're not doing enough.
Yeah, and I think the sad part of this is that, him and Porzingis couldn't figure out how to get along on the court. And whatever happened behind the scenes, we don't know. But him not having a true number two guy.
And you can't even say that Luka's selfish because, look at his numbers.
No, I'm just saying.
It's ridiculous.
They've got to figure out a guy they can bring in to that organization that's going to be able to help him, because he's going to be a wasted talent because he's so diverse in what he's able to do. But you see a team like Phoenix, who currently, I would say this, they're sleepwalking through this series. They're just easy. It's a stroll in the park. Yep. Don't really have to do much. Every guy's contributing. Your point, they're getting it from the top to the bottom. Every guy's getting some kind of points or rebounds and doing some stuff. Is this series over? Do you feel like Dallas even has a chance?
No. Dallas could possibly win one game if Luka can score 50 plus.
Yeah.
And
I heard that on another analyst said it earlier today. They're like, if you get that 150-point game from Luka, they might be able to pull one out. And it's
right.
And that's crazy to think about. Maybe Jalen Brunson steps up, Spencer Dinwiddie, but if not, this series is over to me. It's a 4-game sweep.
If they don't step up, then it's over.
And I think Phoenix knows the next series is going to probably go 6 or 7 games. So this gives them time to rest and be ready for that the conference finals.
Yeah, I think that's where the wheels can stop turning for Phoenix.
Okay, so we'll talk about the series. That's the Memphis Grizzlies versus the Golden State Warriors. This has been an extremely physical series. Draymond Green was ejected game 1. Dylan Brooks game 2, now suspended for game 3. Draymond bloody eye in game 2, still swollen. Not sure his status. Series is tied 1-1. Memphis, again, young team, excited. Ja Morant, after they won game 2, he's like, we're going to have some fun. He's drawing with Curry. He's letting him know I'm here. Ja Morant currently averaging 40.5 points, 8.5 rebounds, and 9 assists a game. Jaron Jackson Jr., 22 and 9, shooting 50% from 3. And that's not his strength. You think about rebound defense with Jaron Jackson, he's shooting 50% from 3. How big the Dylan Brooks suspension, game 3? I mean, that could be a factor. Jordan Poole on the other side, still very consistent, 25.5 points. Steph Curry, 20.5 points, only shooting 34% from 3-point range. So are we concerned about his shooting?
I don't know, because, it's like with him, it's getting in that groove. When he's on, he's going to reel off, 7, 8 in a row, and and not think twice about it. So, and this is a tough series. Like, I think the Western Conference Championship comes from this series, and it's going to be a nail biter right down to the end. I think it goes 7 games.
So one of the things I'm also concerned, Klay Thompson shooting 22.7% from 3-point range.
Yeah, that's a concern.
You need Splash Brothers.
Yeah.
Inc. Because now you could kind of get Jordan Poole into that conversation.
Yeah,
but
he's shooting very low right now.
And now Gary Payton II is out probably until if they make it to the finals with a fractured elbow after that Dylan Brooks hit. This is my one gripe. And let me know how you think. I almost made this the face-off. And I didn't.
You should have.
But do you not feel that – I know how much you're going to love the face-off. No. So I will ask you this question, Ron. Do you not feel that a suspension for a player should be as long as the guy that he injured is out for?
I love that. Look,
right.
I've
so
been
Lindholm,
clamoring
if
for
that was a
in
penalty
the
in
NHL.
the Bruins game, right? If that was if that was a penalty, I know it wasn't, and we'll get into that with the Lindholm.
That's another issue.
But if Lindholm was out for the rest of the playoffs,
the
guy that hit him should be out for the rest of the playoffs.
I agree with that.
Guy going out for one game, what's that do? Dylan Brooks is back in game 4.
Right.
Gary Payton II now may be back in June.
Yeah.
May.
Not
even guaranteed. I don't understand it. I don't get why people feel like that wouldn't be a warranted.
Especially if it's a dirty hit, and that was dirty. I'm sorry, that was dirty. And there's no reason why they can't do,
or at least the series,
an eye for an eye kind of thing.
Yeah, in the series. Look, he can't come back for this series. Neither can Dylan Brooks.
Right.
And then, hey, if the Grizzlies advance, okay, you go on. If not, then again, you at least at this point, to me, that's not a fair trade-off.
Right.
But that series itself, who do you? I still have Memphis coming out of this.
I have Golden
After
State.
the first 2 games, you feel the same way?
It's a little shaken. I mean, that's a big loss. That is. He was look, he's a great role player for them. Yeah.
And he spots minutes for Curry.
Yeah.
So, again, now you're starting to talk about Poole being a starter now versus backing up Curry. That may cost them. We'll have to see. But the NBA playoffs, away and running, man. It's getting close. We're almost on the conference finals. We're getting there.
We are.
So let's talk some Major League Baseball, my friend.
Some what?
MLB.
Mold.
We're going to bring this gentleman up because we had the opportunity to watch him in Boston. And I know how much
I did not watch
Red
that.
Sox fans were excited to watch Shehan.
I did not watch that.
What an amazing performance against the Red Sox. What were your thoughts?
Yes.
Did you see the highlights?
Oh, I saw the highlights.
So 7 innings pitched, no hits, 11 Ks, no walks, and then he went 2 for 4 in an RBI.
Yeah.
So, I mean, is this the future of baseball? Are we seeing that? So, Mike Trout, who's on his team, was considered the best player in baseball. And I think we've talked about this in the past. Are we past that now? It's Ohtani and Ohtani only. Or are there guys that you would put ahead of him currently in the Major League Baseball?
I don't know if I put anybody ahead of him, but I'm not ready to say he's the best player. I mean, the guy is fantastic. He can do it on both sides of the ball.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So you could either say, is he the best hitter, the best pitcher? I mean,
I don't think he's the best pitcher, and I don't think he's the best hitter.
Okay.
But he's the only one that can do it this well on both sides. He's the only one that can do that. So that's special. It really is special to see this. And, because hitters, there are probably maybe a half a dozen players that I still think can mash better.
Key is, though, give me a name. And that's how hard it is. Because you think about it, the first guy you think of right now is Ohtani when it comes to just about any statistical category. Maybe Vlad in Toronto?
Guerrero.
Maybe.
I still think Trout. I still think, Mookie. Like, those are guys that I think are the constant in baseball.
Aaron Judge.
Those are Aaron Judge, another one. You look. There's some guys that can hit, and and unfortunately we can't get to see Fernando Tatis
for a few more months. Yeah.
So he's taken himself out of that group. So there's guys that can definitely do it, and so I'm not ready to give him
okay.
Yeah. And plus, look, Max Scherzer, I think right now is the best pitcher in baseball. Because he stays healthy for the most part, and I probably just jinxed him. Sorry, Mets.
Good job.
Good
job.
but
Playing
yeah,
so
the
all-time leader in strikeouts for the Dodgers. I don't know if you got to see that little nugget.
I did see that
the other day. I mean, you think about his career and where he's been. That was nice to see.
I was actually surprised that he was
that high
guy. Yeah, I was actually surprised.
It was kind of crazy.
Because I always think that he's hurt.
Yeah.
And he's played enough to do that.
He dominated. Yeah, he dominated for a few years there.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the Minnesota Twins and what's going on with them currently. So they are in first place in the Central, 15-11, but they are a string of some bad luck here this last week. Right? A couple of COVID cases, including Rocco Baldelli, their manager, and two of the players. And now Carlos Correa, possible broken middle finger. Not sure how long he'll be out. You think about that free agent signing and what it meant for them. They're currently 2.5 games ahead of the Cleveland Guardians and 3.5 games ahead of the Chicago White Sox. And I had to make sure I wrote down Guardians because I almost did it again. The key, though, 8th in Major League Baseball in ERA at 3.36. So they're getting the pitching. And Byron Buxton has been a very good player for them this year, pretty much leading them in almost every statistical category. But Carrera is first on the team in hits, 5th in batting average.
They're both out.
Can they get through this, or does this week start to set up something for the Minnesota Twins where they start to fail?
Well, I believe they have 3 or 4 key guys out. I don't know if
Sonny Gray, their pitcher as well.
Yeah,
is out now. So
I don't think they can hold on to the lead. Now,
do we not expect the White Sox to make a run at some point?
Yes, I do. I expect the Chicago White Sox to take over the lead. Whether or not Minnesota can get back to it when they get their guys back, whenever that is, because we know injuries can linger, especially in baseball. I think for the most part, a lot of players are a little soft. Yes,
this is coming from a hockey guy, so I got you. I understand.
I'm used to like Bergie playing with punctured lungs and stuff like that.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
you know, baseball players don't play with a blister. So, you know, so, so however long it's going to be before Minnesota gets their players back, at least enough of them, I'm not sure they can hang in there. I'm not sure they can. Matter of fact, I know they won't. You know, if they're out for at least a week, then that's bad.
Yeah, and so we started. I was like, "Oh, what a nice story!" And you think about what Chicago White Sox should be and how they've kind of struggled at the beginning here, and you're going, "Okay, maybe the pickups." We all, when we did our Major League Baseball preview show, I kind of had some doubts about the Twins and the signing, and didn't think they were going to be as good. And I was like, "Oh, okay, maybe I'm wrong." I mean, not that I've ever been wrong. But
you have many times.
No, never. Come on.
Like Minnesota's probably going to finish second.
Right? They could. But again, sometimes these injuries to Ling and then another guy goes out. And if they can't stay consistent, you don't want to lose guys early on in the year, especially when you're on a run. You got a team like Chicago who should be better than they are, underperforming. Because baseball is way too long where, look, there's still 130 games left in the season where
it's crazy that we've already gone through that many.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, we're at 26 games in for them.
Yeah.
So, but you start to look at it that way. Nice story overall, but I think this hurts them. And I think the Carrera thing is something that might linger. That's the part of it where, again, a finger's tough because holding a bat or trying to catch a ball, right? That's the stuff that you're going to need that finger. Yeah. And we won't discuss which finger because we're trying to be a, family-friendly show here. But that should let everybody know which finger's hurt.
It isn't this one, right?
Ronald. Stop. That one. Yeah, that one. Yeah, the one next to the pinky. Maybe the one a little further over. When you post this video, that's going to be the one thing showing up now. Oh, man. So we are just.
That's my message to Brindamore.
Hey, there we go. Good segue, my friend, because we are on to the NHL. And let's bring up this picture because I know how much you're going to love it. I did this one just for you.
Yeah.
How do you like that picture, my friend?
Yeah.
Huh?
It's peachy.
Just sheer dominance by the Carolina Hurricanes. They continue to dismantle the Boston Bruins, now up 2-0 in this series. We know, anybody that's watched this show, that listens to this show, how big of a Boston Bruins fan you are. So I know how painstaking this has to be for us to discuss it, but we're going to go through some numbers first. Currently in this series, and these are averages. Carolina's averaging 5 goals a game. Boston 1.5. And remember, they really.
So they've gone up since the
regular
season.
They've gone up, buddy. This is the part that's baffling to me as to just what's wrong with the Bruins. So they're out shooting the Carolina Hurricanes 37-29.5. They're getting more shots on goal. They're doing more of the dirty work, per se, and yet somehow keep coming up short.
Yeah, they've actually carried the play for the most part.
So then the power play, which was one of the things they definitely struggled with in the regular season, 12.5 for Boston, 16.7 for Carolina. Penalty kills, 83.3 for Boston, 87.5 for Carolina. Here's where it gets ugly. Bergeron, 2 goals. Marchand, Pasternak, 0.
Well, the rest of the team, right?
Right? Yes, pretty much. There was 1 goal by Lindholm. Right? Was it?
No.
Hall. By Hall. He's the only other guy to score in the series. And if you think about what Boston's going to need to get back into this series, can they do it? Can Bergeron, can Marchand, Pasternak muster up enough now to get them back into this series? Obviously, Game 3 tonight, starting in about 5 minutes. So
we know who showed up this series, and that is Bergeron and Hall. We know they showed up. We know that McAvoy showed up. And Lindholm was only going to show up,
He
until he
showed
got
up
hurt.
for game 2. He may not remember that he was in
No,
game 2.
he doesn't remember it at all.
So,
Look, this is on players like Marchand and Pasternak. They know that they have a responsibility right now. That this is right now on them, and especially that the Haller, Pasternak line was victimized by Stahl, a couple of times, his line, and and other players as well, like Niederreiter, and so they took advantage of that line.
And when I watched the game 1, I wasn't able to watch game 2. You were keeping me updated as it was happening, but Slavin, the defenseman for Carolina, every time he was on the ice, his line, I heard his name being called. He was, you know what I mean? He was poking the puck away. He was getting the puck, moving the puck up. They need to control that. Aho has looked like the star player that he is.
Yeah.
And then you think about the goalie situation for Carolina. You thought this was a sheer advantage for Boston when they're starting a backup goalie, and then he gets hurt. So Rantanen?
Yeah, Antti-Ranta.
Right? Got hurt.
Yeah, which is a whole nother story.
Kochkova?
Kachetsov. Whatever it is.
He's 93% save, almost 94% save percentage right now. Why can't they get past these? Now you're talking about a third string goal.
This is where the Bruins need to clean it up in front of the goaltenders, their own and the opponent. That's where they need to clean it up. I mean, they are just being soft in front. And that's basically it. Like Bergeron is doing it. Like, he's not a huge guy, but he's out there. He's grinding in front. He's getting the job done. Why can't anybody else?
I just feel like that they're being outcoached, and we talked about this before we started the show. Outcoached, outplayed. Just seems like more hustle, more toughness out of Carolina.
And it's not really like outplayed because they've, like I said, like watching the series, Boston has really dictated the better play.
No, what I'm talking about,
they make the mistakes. And
yeah, but that's what I'm saying. When I'm talking about outplayed, I'm just saying sharp, like making crisp pass.
Yeah.
We've talked about it, the way they spread the ice, and so the passes when they're going across the ice, it's more of a wide open shot. It seems like Boston is very congested in an area.
Yeah.
On offense, and on defense, it's the latter.
Yeah.
They're not spread out enough where they can to your point, right? The wingers have to be on those defensemen to try to stop the puck movement, and they're not doing that.
Yeah, I mean, this is coaching 101, right? Like you find where the strengths of Carolina are, and you need to take those away. The strength is their defensemen shooting the puck in and getting deflections. So you need to take that away. So the first thing you do is you take away the defenseman's shot. That's coaching 101. You stop those shots from coming in, and then you stop a lot of those problems. And they haven't done that because they're not coaching enough. And I am squarely putting that on Cassidy right now. That is squarely on his shoulders.
Can we just call it Bruce Cassidy needs to be finished in Boston? I think his time's run up.
If they lose the series, I think he is.
Let me ask you this question, and we'll move on to some other series because I know how heated you are about Boston, but we've got so much more to cover in the NHL as well. Bill Belichick one time, it was a playoff game against the Jets. We ended up losing New England, losing that game. He benched Wes Welker prior to the game because Wes Welker had made some comments about, the coach and his feet and okay. Yep. Is it time? So Bruce Cassidy. Now you've discussed about him benching certain players at times, which didn't make sense. But could he possibly to send a message to this team, bench a Marchand or Pasternak, maybe not for a whole game, but to say, look, you guys need to either step up or we're going to lose this series. Why don't you watch for a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, that's something that can potentially happen. But he's going to wait until his desperation.
and to your point, versus a guy that got a penalty, which will happen in the NHL. It's just a given. There's penalties called when they shouldn't be, and there's penalties that are called when they should be. And unfortunately, if a guy gets a penalty, it doesn't necessarily mean because he's a younger player, let's bench him. What about your star guys that aren't scoring, aren't contributing on that to the success of your team?
Absolutely. And frankly, and I'll let it be known that we're talking about Frederick here. Yes. And Frederick has played very well for this team. And that Coyle, Frederick, Smith line has been one of the best lines all season long. Yes, they don't put the numbers up like, a Pasternak or a Bergeron or a Marchand does, but that has been an effective line, throughout the series. And that's the line that should be playing against Stahl's line, to be honest with you, because look, Coyle is their biggest center. He's the guy that should be covering their biggest center that's causing all kinds of havoc. And it's not happening. How is that not happening? Coyle is a solid two-way player. So, I would much rather have him take out Stahl, and nullify that line. And Frederick and Smith are capable of doing that. And they're capable of keeping the puck, and putting offense on the board, and it's just not happening.
So final thought, Swayman now in goal.
Yep.
Versus Olmark, who was 86%.
It's not his fault.
Do you think we'll see an improvement in that aspect of it? Or is it more about the defensemen and to your point, what they're doing in front of the net to play?
Yeah, I think it's all about what the Bruins are doing in front of the net and to control those shots from the point.
And I know you're going to be keeping an eye on the game now. So if you get any updates while we're doing the show, let us know.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's on a positive note.
Yeah, you'll know.
So let's talk about some of these other playoff series. So there's a lot of good series going on. Most of them are 1-1 tied up right now. There's only one series that's actually 2-0, and that would be the Colorado Avalanche and the Nashville Predators.
Hence the natural disasters.
See there, I told you.
Avalanche and Hurricanes.
I love it.
2-0.
So 2-0 in the series. Avalanche are up. Colorado shoot 22.2% on the power play. Nashville 12.5. Penalty kills 87.5 for Colorado, 77.8. Nashville's goaltender injury issues, right? With Ingram, he's 0-1. He's 95%. And then is it Richich? Yeah. 0-1, 61%. So that first game when they 5 goals early, can they improve on that?
No.
So I'm just going to give you quick hit questions. Seeing you're my hockey guru.
Saros is out again for game 3, so it's going to be another loss.
Okay. And then McKinnon's got 4 points, 3 goals, 1 assist. Can he carry the team through this series? We know their struggles in the playoffs in the past. Do we feel he's their star player and he's performing like that?
Yep, he's playing exactly how he needs to be playing.
So we feel pretty good about Colorado advancing in this round.
Yeah, they're gonna get through without really any problem.
Okay. Fun series now. Minnesota.
That's a good one.
St. Louis Blues. Series tied 1-1. Obviously, some situation with the Minnesota goaltending and what they really want to do. Fleury, 90% currently. He's given up 3 goals. Do we see Talbot?
I don't know. I mean, you might.
Husso is outperforming him for St. Louis, 92% save percentage.
Yeah, but they got a lot more pressure on them. St. Louis, they have 2 injuries that are going to cost them the series to their blue line. What's his face? Letty, who they just got in a trade, which is a big loss, and Bertuzzo. So with 2 defensemen out, it is going to be very difficult for St. Louis to get out of their end. That's why they got Nick Letty, is to, because of the puck handling. And that was where, it was just Krug that was able to bring it out. Now it's just Krug again. So that's going to put a lot of pressure on Torrey Krug, who is a smaller player. So, you know, with Minnesota's bulk, they're going to try to wear that down, and they're going to take advantage of that. You know, just like St. Louis did to the Bruins when,
Yeah.
you know, when they
So
had Krug.
yeah, St. Louis 27.3% on the power play. Does their experience, obviously being a man advantage and what they're able to do, being in the playoffs before, and the importance of knowing you need to score in those opportunities, is that enough for them though to possibly get by Minnesota, who's not as well experienced?
Like I said, those two defensemen down is really difficult. I mean, they can do it. They have the experience, and that is a positive.
And it's Kristoff, right?
Yes.
From Minnesota. He's playing great hockey as well.
Yes.
From Minnesota. So again, their star player performing and doing what he needs to do.
Thrill the thrill.
Which way is this series going?
It's going to, like, Minnesota, I think, is going to wrestle this one away because of the depth now.
Okay, with the injuries to
Minnesota, yeah.
All right,
because they're very equal teams. You know, of course, St. Louis has more experience, but now with injuries starting to pile up for them, you know, it's tough to make up for those defensive injuries. And you know, the Bruins are in that same boat. You know, with the loss of Lindholm, so it's going to be tough to get through without a full defensive squad.
So what about this series here? Calgary, we feel such a better team, and if you look at the numbers, they really are. But it's tied 1-1.
Yeah,
they let one slip in game one. Very low scoring series. Neither team really,
and that's what Dallas wants. Dallas wants to
benefits them, right?
Slow it down because you know they don't have that
the
depth.
Firepower. Yeah, the firepower.
Yeah. So they want to make this game to be slow. They want it to come to a grinding halt, you know, and just in muck, you know, and just slow it down so much to the point where there's just no, you know, flow to the game. And that's what they're going to try to do. And that's what they've done so far. And they've split. So their game plan is working to a T right now. Now it's up to Calgary to change that and really force themselves. Like you basically have Marchand and Pasternak not doing a thing, and that's why they're losing.
So if Dallas can keep the series with this grind,
yes,
you got Dallas winning the series?
Well, no, I don't, but you know, that's what they want. If they can do that successfully, you know, then yes, then they can do that. So, but I don't know if they can do that and sustain it, you know, for a 7-game series. That's the thing. They've done it for 2 games and they've done it well. So, you know, now they're going to come out and play the same way. But if Calgary figures it out, it's going to be tough,
and it's going to be very hard to keep those 2 stars down,
right,
for an entire series. So another series, Edmonton Oilers, LA Kings. Really thought this was going to go one way and only one way. It's currently tied. Very successful Edmonton on the power plays, 50% of the power plays. So they know they get the man advantage. They're scoring 100% on the penalty kills. So LA has 0% on the power play. They have not scored in the power play. You think about what that means. Quick, though, 88%, much better goaltender than he's showing. And you think about the stars for Edmonton and what kind of points they can put up. Is this series really just more of a slip up on Edmonton early in game 1, got back to what they needed to do game 2, and then we should see them pretty much take over the series going forward?
Yeah, the firepower is too much for LA to handle right now. It's, you know, they're a young team, and you know they made the playoffs, and they should be proud of that. You know, I think the buck stops here, and you know, and they'll take away a lot of learning moments from this series. So Now, not saying down the road that things aren't going to switch, because I still think anybody that can put a lot of pressure on an Edmonton team can just dominate them.
Defensively. Yeah.
Right. It just LA can't do it right now.
So
they can't do it right now.
Draisaitl and McDavid, we think about them as the two biggest stars. The thing that's sneaky in this series right now, Evander Kane, 2 goals.
Yeah.
And, really didn't talk about him much during the regular season. We knew all of his off-ice issues and him, signing with them.
But that's what he can do.
If he can contribute for them as well, and now you got that third scorer and that third, player on the ice.
Yeah, he put up like 24, 25 goals this season. He had a great year.
So that's it. They've got a lot of, like you said, firepower. Key is if a team can put the pressure on, how they'll respond to that. Series over though, Edmonton. Your eyes.
Series over. Yep.
Okay. So then, President Trophy winner, Florida Panthers. You said, look, it's a lock. There's no way. Washington with their struggles, Ovechkin possibly not playing. Then he did play. Hasn't contributed for Washington. Ovechkin 0 goals so far in this series. Yep. But the series is tied 1-1.
Yeah.
And Washington, 33% on the power plays. Florida has not scored on the power play.
Yeah, I believe they're doing it without Tom Wilson as well for Washington.
So if I was going to ask you this, of the 2 stars in this series, Ovechkin and Huberdeau, which one? So neither guy's got a goal yet. Which guy do you feel is going to break out in this series and take over for his team so that they win this series?
Huberdeau. I think Ovechkin is going to score too, but I think Huberdeau is going to ultimately have the better series. Look, they're just stacked, and you're not going to be able to contain them, especially with okay goaltending. And that's what Washington has, okay goaltending. Florida's defense is so good that even if Bobrovsky doesn't play well, I think they still win the series because of that defense. Will be able to contain, the Washington Capitals offense. And if they just if they keep grinding down the aging players of Washington, that's just going to be more trouble for Washington Capitals.
So Florida takes the series, no doubt.
Yes.
And by that look, did we get a score yet?
No, but there's something going on. There's referees talking, so
we'll have to see. So, and we know how you feel about the refs. This next series, I can't figure out which way this is going to go. And that's the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Tampa Bay Lightning. The series is tied 1-1. Vasilevsky has not looked like himself in this series so far, giving up 8 goals, 87% save percentage. Matthews and Marner, 2 goals, 5 points each for Toronto. So their stars are getting their points. Which team takes over this? Who helps in Toronto, those 2 stars? Or is it more Vasilevsky's just going to take over?
Vasilevsky has to play well, because I don't think Tampa Bay has enough in the tank anymore. So I don't know if they can contain the offensive talent and keep the pressure on, Toronto to do it.
There was a stat, though, when they've lost in the playoffs, the last, I think it's 3 seasons.
13-0, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So where you think about, they did it again. They knew they had to win that game, and they were able to perform. And we talk about experience when it came to the St. Louis Blues versus the Wild and what that might mean. What about this experience for Tampa Bay?
Okay,
now,
so
won 2 straight titles.
If you take that stat and you say, okay, so Toronto wins the first game, so
you
Tampa
do the
Bay
math,
won't lose the next one.
Yeah,
you keep doing the math and you lose 4 games to 3.
Yes.
So,
but
I think it goes 7.
Not a turning point for Tampa Bay in Game 2.
Well,
to take over
they did win Game 2.
But that's what take over the series now.
Right. So, but now you're going to have to deal with a motivated Austin
Austin
Matthews. And Austin Matthews and Marner, they play so well after a loss. It's going to be very difficult for Tampa Bay to keep matching it. Yes, they're gonna try their best. Look, Tampa Bay is a championship team, and they're gonna keep in there as long as they can. But at some point, they're just not going to have enough.
See, I take into account that Vasilevsky is not played well.
Yeah.
And they still in this series 1-1.
Oh, I know.
I still think that he's going to
look, and we know goaltenders can do it,
right? So I'm a little more concerned with Toronto right now, because we've even talked about in the past them defensively as well. Some of those same issues.
Yeah,
it's going to be a fun series to watch.
It is.
But to top it all off, Ron, we're going to end with the most exciting series I think so far in the NHL playoffs.
Rangers Penguins.
You talked about a triple overtime. My wife, who doesn't like hockey, watched two periods, of the overtime, because we were just trying to figure out who's going to win this thing.
Yeah.
Because both teams look exhausted. It was such a fun game. But then you talk about so many stars in this.
Yeah.
That can be from. The goaltending situation for Pittsburgh is very concerning, though. D. Smith now out for the playoff.
Yeah.
Is it Dominguez? Dominguez. There's a Z in there, or is it just I'm missing it? So Dominguez is now currently in, not their starter. Jari's out as well. I just
they're in a jam right now,
right? Like, how much more can they take before? And Shesterkin hasn't played well. Shesterkin. Oh, I see it. Shesterkin hasn't played well. 6 goals, 95%, which doesn't sound crazy, but you think about how many shots he faced.
Yeah.
In that overtime, so that percentage,
95% is really good.
It sounds good, yeah. But I think 6 goals against wouldn't sound too good if he didn't face so many shots based on that.
I know.
Can he sustain that for the Rangers?
Yeah.
Or does Pittsburgh have enough to get by? To me, New York's got this series if he performs the way he should.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, look, it's coming down to goaltending, obviously. And obviously the Rangers have the advantage, and I picked the Rangers to win based on that. I wasn't sold on DeSmith, taking over for Jari. But he performed pretty well when he was in there, and
so he got hurt. Yeah.
But he's now out, and their problems are compiled, and that's not good for Pittsburgh.
And Crosby, 1 goal in this series so far, 3 assists, so 4 points. But obviously, you're going to need his scoring. You need him to get.
And it makes sense in overtime that Pittsburgh won that game because of the star power of the Pittsburgh Penguins and the experience factor of the Pittsburgh Penguins. So if they can keep it close and go into overtime, I like Pittsburgh's chances. They gotta bring games to overtime, and then I like their chances. But I don't know if they can do that. I don't think they can hold on with the goaltending situation.
Yeah, very tough situation. That's like losing 2 quarterbacks and your third string quarterback, and you're like,
that's exactly what that is.
Very difficult situation, and I think that's what's ultimately going to hurt Pittsburgh. So let's move on to our face-off, my friend. Great hockey talk, by the way. Love the hockey. I am so much into hockey now. The face-off, and I knew you're loving this, and guess what? I get to pick first. The tuck rule has come up again now with Tom Brady putting a statement out on a TikTok challenge from Justin Bieber, a Tell the Truth challenge. Justin Bieber asked tell somebody something of truth that they may not know. And Tom Brady came back and said basically that the tuck rule, it possibly could have been a fumble. So we're going to argue if it was a fumble or not. And I get to pick first. And I'm going to go with It was a fumble.
Okay.
And I will tell you why it was a fumble, Ron. Because nobody had heard of the tuck rule till the tuck rule. We've seen plenty of fumbles, plenty of different plays where quarterbacks touch the ball, things happen. Never heard of the tuck rule. All of a sudden, heard of the tuck rule. I'm going to tell you a very interesting story. So I remember I was in Florida at the time, and I had gone on vacation, and the entire strip went out of power.
Oh, that's time.
Oh, hold on. Let me just.
Now I get to argue.
And the entire strip went out of power during the Pats game. And I'm like, great. I don't know where I am. I don't know where to go to watch the game. I'm calling. Back in the day, I was looking in the phone book. That's how old we are. I'm looking at the phone book, and I'm trying to call local bars or something. Do you have the game? What's the score? The game came back on exactly when that play happened. I kid you not.
Okay.
And the first thing I said was, great, it's a fumble. It was so clear and so obvious that it was a fumble, and there's a tuck rule. I think Tom Brady, as much as I don't like him talking about it as a New England fan, I think he's correct. I think it was a fumble. But that's my argument.
What year was this?
2001.
Okay, so 21 years ago, the rule was a tuck. Right?
Yes.
Okay, not a fumble.
Okay. Did you know what year they got rid of the tuck rule?
Probably the next year.
Very next year, because it's not a rule. It doesn't exist. It should have never been called. It was a fumble. Not that we still could have won that game, but it probably would have been a lot more difficult.
Yeah, we would have won. You know?
You believe. I believe. I believe.
Of course, it was destiny.
And I still say,
it
to
was
this
destiny
point,
because of 9/11. It was destiny that the Patriots were going to win.
But the problem with that whole thing was the Oakland Raiders at the time was Oakland. The Oakland Raiders still had an opportunity to stop New England from scoring and didn't. And then Vinatieri still had to kick that long field goal to tie it.
Right.
So they make it sound like that one play scored the points or caused.
No, it didn't matter.
It didn't. It didn't affect it. They still had opportunity to stop them. Anyway, clearly won that argument.
You didn't win the argument. I won the argument.
If you enjoy what you're watching, check us out every Friday night at 6 p.m. as we are live. We are fan interactive. We're on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter at 6 p.m. Eastern time every Friday night. Follow us on social media at Sports Unfolded on Facebook and Twitter, at Broadcasting RI on Twitter, Sports_Unfolded on Instagram. Don't have time to watch? Listen to us on Amazon, Anchor, Google, Spotify, Red Circle, and tune in as well. So many different ways to watch and listen. If you're in Southeast Connecticut, we are on Tuesday nights at 10 p.m. It's a rebroadcast of this show on Public Access Channel 12. If you enjoy what you're watching and you're watching right now on Southeast Connecticut, check us out Friday night, 6 p.m. on those platforms. If you'd like to sponsor the show, email us at ribroadcasting.media@gmail.com, where we will be able to provide you information where you can have thousands of eyes on your business daily and give us an opportunity to continue to grow our business as well. So check that out. We'd love to get some sponsors on Sports Unfolded. Doesn't necessarily have to be sports. It could be any business whatsoever, and we'd love to get you on.
Could be a donut shop because it costs less than the coffee and a donut to sponsor.
Very good.
Show.
Very good. I love the way you put that right in there. It's pick and roll time, my friend. I told you it's going to probably be a 2-hour show. We're an hour and a half in now.
Yeah, but people love us, so
they do. They love us. How could you not love us? We talk great sports. Look at that face. How could you not love that face? So the tuck rule is over. I'm going back to the tuck rule. That's how excited I was about the tuck rule. We're going to debate the rankings of the 2018 NBA draft. So episode 18, 2018 NBA draft. Some great players in that draft. These top 5 are really good. You think about, they've all contributed some way DeAndre Ayton, Marvin Bagley III, Luka Doncic, Jaron Jackson Jr., and Trey Young were the top 5 picks in the 2018 draft. We're going to tell you exactly how we rank them from 5 to 1, 5 being the least to 1 being the best. I am first this week, so I will go and tell you the perfect list.
Ooh, that means I don't have to do stats.
You don't have to do stats because I'm giving you a perfect list. You don't even have to read your list because once I read mine, you're going to go, yep, you're right, and we move on. At number 5 of all of them, Marvin Bagley III, 13.6 points per game, 7.4 rebounds, less than an assist a game, less half a steal in his career, 0.7 on the blocks. Made the all-rookie team, 18-9. Actually, all these guys made the all-rookie team. One of them actually won Rookie of the Year as well. So just not enough for him. And his teams, and you think I feel bad because Sacramento, and he's been with some bad teams. He's not playing with very good teams. So that's kind of hurt him. At number 4, Jaron Jackson Jr., 15.8 points per game, 5.1 rebounds, 1.2 assists. You think about his blocks, 1.8 blocks, actually led the league in blocks this season. And the Grizzlies, and look at what they're starting to do. He's a piece of that foundation. Also made the all-rookie team. At 3, made a finals appearance, so I gave him a little more credit than the other 2. DeAndre Ayton, for that piece, 16.3 points per game, 10.5 rebounds per game. The only guy on this list to have a double-double, averaging a double-double. Again, made the all-rookie team, averages a block a game. We talk about the Phoenix Suns and all their star power. He's one of those pieces. A solid player. Has to be in the middle of the ground because these other 2 guys are just so dynamic. And this is where I debated a little bit. Just a little bit. But at number 2, I went Trey Young. 25.3 points per game, 3.9 rebounds, 9.1 assists. Again, all-rookie team, 2-time All-Star. But again, not the numbers that this guy at number 1, Luka Doncic, has put up. 26.4 points per game, 8.5 rebounds, and 8 assists. Averages a 1.1 steals as well. Was the 18-19 Rookie of the Year. So out of all these guys that were on the all-rookie team, he won the Rookie of the Year. 3-time All-Star, 2-time All-NBA. Just a dynamic player. And you think about that trade, Trey Young and him switched in this draft. That was a trade on trade day, on the draft day. What a big deal that was if you think about from where they are. They're both 1-2 on this list, but you could say it's not 1A, 1B. It's pretty much
1.
Trey's 2, and he's 1.
Yeah. That's exactly my list.
I told you.
So you finally got something right.
Oh, here we go.
But look, no, I wanna clarify that I was actually closer to putting Ayton at number 2. I was close. I was looking at that and I'm like, gee, I actually like Ayton better than Trey Young, especially after the playoffs this year, how he just disappeared for Atlanta and showed no desire for their season. Showed no desire. And I did not like that from Trey Young. I did not like that. Especially when you don't have the top 2 players for Miami in a game and you don't muster anything.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah.
So,
no, I can see that. See that.
So, yes, that one game kind of soured my likability of Trey Young. So,
no, I could see that.
It's all about Luka in this draft.
I just thought about, if you think about the 5 players, and again, Bagley, for no fault of his own, again, playing on just some poor teams.
He's a nice player.
I felt bad, but he's not a bad player. His numbers are pretty good. So all very good players. That was a very good draft. If you think about just the top 5 there, and you got those players, that's pretty darn good.
Yeah. Look,
so,
if Luka needs to win a championship, He doesn't have to change the color. He can still wear green. Just come to Boston.
You love that.
Oh my God, I would
that would be
love
insane.
that.
That would be insane. So it's prediction time, and you picked up a game. You picked up a game, so you know I know you want to try to hold off wearing that nice sweater
No
for the
problem.
Canadians. But so 75-55 for Eric, 71-59 for Ron. I'm at 57%.
And all you fans out there are slacking. Send us your predictions.
And 130 games we've predicted so far. 130. How crazy is that?
And all top-notch matchups.
And we're only on week 18. Yes, we make sure we get the top, any big fights, any key games. So, yes, if you like your name on there, man, make sure that you guys give us your picks, especially when you watch us live. It just helps us so much.
Yep.
All right, so we are starting off, and I am first this week with Major League Baseball. And on April 9th, the Tampa Bay Rays are at the Los Angeles Angels. It's a 3-game. What's wrong with you? It's a goal? Carolina?
Yeah.
1-0? Okay,
Yep.
It's a good start. Good start. Tampa Bay at the Los Angeles Angels, 3-game series. I like what the Angels are doing. I think they finally have figured out how to be more consistent with winning. Tampa Bay is kind of the middle of the ground right now. Not as dominant as they were last year. I like the Angels in this matchup.
I also like the Angels. Yeah. Angels win 2 of them.
So on May 10th, the Houston Astros are at the Minnesota Twins. It's a 3-game series.
Injury problems for Minnesota. They will not be able to match Houston's depth. In fact, I would probably think that this is going to be a sweep for Houston.
Yeah, last week we had the Houston Astros. We both picked Houston to start to take over against Seattle, and they ended up giving up 2 runs in 3 games. So they dominated. Yeah. I think the same thing happens here. Minnesota's just on the tail end of those, like you said, the injuries. So,
yep.
May 7th, tomorrow afternoon, I apologize. Boston Celtics at the Milwaukee Bucks, Game 3 with the series tied 1-1. Game 3 usually a big indicator of who takes over the series. Seeing it's at home, Giannis is going to be on a mission. I am going to Milwaukee Bucks to win Game 3.
I am taking Boston. I think they're going to do basically the same thing to them. They're going to keep giving them the shots, and they are going to take them. And even if they're at 35%, they're going to take it
right now. You're loving some Grant Williams, 61% right now. Look at
I am loving some Grant.
On May 7th, the Memphis Grizzlies at the Golden State Warriors. Again, another Game 3. This series tied 1-1. So tomorrow night, who do you got?
I've got Golden State.
Ooh, okay.
I think Curry is going to snap out of his funk and be looking for him to nail 7 in a row at some point in that game, and it's going to pull away.
I am going Memphis, and I just love the fact when Ja was walking off the court after Game 2 saying, now we're going to have some fun, and he's drawing at Curry. This kid is dynamic.
Yep.
He is going to score 40-plus again, and he's going to carry the Grizzlies to a win.
Okay.
So tonight, as we are speaking, and this is kind of ironic because we already circled all the answers prior to, the Carolina Hurricanes are at Boston playing the Bruins. Game 3, series is up 2-0. I went the obvious. Boston hasn't been able to beat Carolina yet. I went Carolina. Is he changing it right now as we speak?
I am still going to go with Boston tonight. Even though they're down 1-0 right now.
You're out of your mind. You're out of your mind. You are the biggest homer I know.
I'm not going against Boston.
Okay.
Not doing it. Not doing it. I don't care.
All right.
Even if I take the
you
loss on this,
wear
I'm
that
still
sweater with pride, my friend. You are going to wear that sweater with pride. I hear you. On May 7th, so tomorrow night, Florida Panthers at the Washington Capitals, game 3 of the series that is tied 1-1. Who do you got?
Florida.
Agreed. What about the other game tomorrow night? New York Rangers at the Pittsburgh Penguins, game 3, series tied 1-1. I feel like the Rangers took the momentum in game 2 after Pittsburgh gave all their efforts in game 1 to win that one. I think the Rangers win this.
I also have the Rangers, and I have the Rangers winning big by 3 goals.
Oh, look at you. Calling goals now. Wow. Ron, the WNBA kicks off.
Yes.
And we've got so that's tonight. The Los Angeles Sparks are at the Chicago Skies, the defending champions. Who do you have?
I am going to go home team, and with the champs, I'm going to go with the Sky.
I agree. I think we haven't seen a back-to-back champ, they said, since 2001.
Yep.
I think the Sky might be the first team to do it since then.
I just don't think that they're going to lose the home opener on a season against.
Raise that banner, right? You raise that banner.
Yep.
Tomorrow night, USFL, my friend, Tampa Bay Bandits versus the Birmingham Stallions. You have not gone against the Stallions so far in 3 straight games, 3 straight victories.
My Italian
Is it my pick or your pick? Is it my pick? It's my pick. Right? Yes.
Yeah.
It is my pick. And I am going to tell you right now that I have done this every week, and it's come back to bite me, but I'm going to not do it again this week. I am going to Birmingham Stallions to go 4-0.
I, of course, am going with the Italian Stallions.
You are on the
Stallions. They are winning the championship. They are going to have they're going to be the first USFL team to go perfect on the season and win the championship. Boom, right there.
And they can't even be a visitor. Every game's in Birmingham.
That's right. Gotta love it.
Big another big fight. Another big fight tomorrow night. Canelo Alvarez, 57-1-2 on his career, is facing Dmitry Bivol. 19-0. I think he's ranked number 2 in Ring Magazine. Who do you got winning this match?
Oh, I got Canelo. I mean, come on. There's no way he's losing to this guy.
Yeah, Canelo. Losing. I got Canelo. This shouldn't be as close. Again, I don't know who this kid's really fought.
Canelo's too good. He's got 57 wins.
57
he's
wins,
too
Canelo.
Good.
So we got a few different here. We'll see how it all works out. I'm dying to see how this Carolina Hurricanes thing works out for you. I really hope it works out for you. I really do, but I don't think it will. So how we normally end our show, we do our final thought, and our final thought doesn't necessarily have to be about anything sports related. It could be about anything going on in the world today. I am first this week, so I will give you my final thought. Maybe a little long, so I apologize. Please forgive me for this.
Oh, boy.
But Vancouver Canucks assistant equipment manager Brian Red Hamilton had an interesting interaction with a fan of the Seattle Kraken during an away game earlier in the year. The fan was Nadia Popovici. I believe I said her name right. I hope so. She was sitting behind the Canucks bench. Popovici is a medical student who's studying early detection of cancer and things of that nature. She had noticed a spot on Brian's neck and typed in a message on her phone and basically put it up to the glass and said, "The mole on your back is possibly cancerous. Please see a doctor." Once he decided to get it checked, again, wasn't paying much mind to it, decided to get it checked. It was malignant melanoma, a type of skin cancer. Cancer had run in his family. His father had passed away, 2 siblings, and a 5-year-old niece of his had all died of cancer. Basically, by her sending that message to him, and the doctors that had treated him on the Vancouver Canucks staff said that if in 5 years he hadn't got it treated, he probably would have been, one of the victims of cancer as well. her just insight of seeing it, the fact that she was willing to at least send him a message, even though she didn't know if he'd even read it, respond, care, saved his life. It was just an amazing story. It actually brought me to tears because they had a big the next Seattle Kraken's game that the Vancouver Canucks went to. They got to meet. They did a whole honoring of her. And it just goes to show you that humans there's still compassion in this world. She didn't have to do that, and she did. And I thought that was just such a great story that I wanted to share it.
That was very
That's my
nice.
final thought.
That was very nice. My final thought is going to throw away that compassion.
Hey, there it is. That's my guy.
My final thought goes out to Rod Brindamore, the Carolina Hurricane coach, that went as far as saying that the Bruins are trying to go after the goaltenders to hurt them. This coming from a man that, I gave so much credit for to being a great coach, and then you go and you destroy that respect I had for you, because what you're really saying is David Pastrnak is a dirty player, and he intended on hurting, your goaltender, Ranta, which is ridiculous at best. At best. First of all, if you had any notion of what the Bruins try to do when they try to get those long clearing plays, bounce off the boards on a streaking player, usually Pastrnak, Marchand, or Taylor Hall because of the speed of them, and they try to get the bounce off the backboard and try to get the goal. Well, he came out of the net and to try to play the puck, and Pasternak's instinct was to try to block it, knock it down, and possibly score a goal. So when that happened, he was coming in so fast, he ended up colliding with the goaltender. And I'll just say that most of the contact, if you watch the video, most of the contact came with the skates. So Pasternak's left leg hit, the pad of, I believe it was his right leg, because the way he was angled to fire the puck out. And his arm grazed his mask. And it did just graze his mask. And, he fell down like he got shot, like trying to draw a penalty.
Soccer style.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what he tried to do. And then what really injured him was his player skating by, kicked him in his head, knocking off the mask. And therefore, that's what actually injured him. But he wanted to act and get a penalty on Pastrnak. So that is what happened. So Rod Brindamore, go back and look at the damn video and look for yourself.
And
That is my final thought. And then
Ron,
you do a dirty hit on Lindholm to hurt him, but you don't say anything about that, do you, Brindamore?
So just to end on a positive note, thank you for your final thought. I appreciate that. But I wanted to just,
I'm so angry right now.
How old are we getting? Do you know what the 20-year anniversary tomorrow is? This is how old we're getting, Ron. And as I said, 20 years, I said, there's no way. The famous Allen Iverson press conference for practice.
Oh.
Not a game. Practice. 20 years ago tomorrow. Insane. Yeah. You think about where we've gone in the sports world and how long. That's carried for 20 years, that press conference. And I didn't think it was that long ago, and it was 20 years. So we've been watching and covering sports for a long time.
Yeah.
We actually, one of our shows back in the day, Shaq, when he signed with the Lakers after leaving Orlando, you think about how long ago that was. Yeah. That's what, 91, 92? That's how long we've been doing this. So I always enjoy these, man. It's been great. Thank you for your time. I know you're dying to get to that Bruins game. So I appreciate all of your insight today. Everybody that's watched out there, we appreciate you. Anybody that's going to watch afterwards, check us out. Follow us on all our medias. We appreciate all the fans that we can get. Don't forget the sponsor, Sports Unfolded. All
And
we
as
ever
long
want.
as Carolina doesn't win the cup, I'm happy.
All right. All we want in this world is peace.
Have a good night, everybody.